I've already shown you how I assemble the drone, how I fought to get it set up, and I got it set up. Today, I want to show you how, from an innocent little project, we move further because the need to print ordinary landing legs for the drone turned into a project worthy of ForgeCopter. I encourage you to download the STL files from MakerWorld, where you'll find not only the files from this project. For the more demanding ones, head over to my Patreon, where the step files live along with other goodies. And for supporters, I have a little gift, one free print every month. Welcome to the video. I'm assembling the first legs. Even then, I had mixed feelings about them. They looked okay, but something felt off, too delicate, too temporary, and I was right. While tuning the PIDs, I simply broke them. The drone is shaking, the legs take the force, and the plastic says, bye-bye. Classic story. I had to do something about it. I start looking for ready-made solutions. Google, checking images, but they're all the same cookie-cutter stuff. Oof. 3D model platforms, but those models are for much smaller drones. Wood legs, I dig through dozens of projects. Seem cool, but it's like something from a racing drone, not from a machine that's supposed to actually work in the field. Nothing fits the Franken-copter. The conclusion was simple. Since I didn't find anything worthy, I'll design them myself. I open SolidWorks. I start drawing. The first versions were, to put it mildly, mediocre. Too complicated, too heavy, or just plain stupid. After a few attempts, it suddenly clicked. Since this is ForgeCopter, the legs can't just be ordinary blocks. They have to fold and unfold by themselves. Decision made. Servos. In the cupboard lay some old SG90s from other projects. They're pretty weak, that's a fact, but they're light. They should manage. On top of that, I designed the legs so that even in the folded position, it already builds ground clearance, so I don't always have to unfold them. Sometimes it's enough that they simply are there. Sometimes folded clearance about 5 centimeters. Unfolded 13 centimeters. Exactly as much as needed. The models go into the slicer. I set everything up, generate the G code, and an 11-hour print begins. I uploaded the project along with the settings to MakerWorld. And if someone wants to edit it, the step files are on Patreon. Links as always in the description. The first layer looks good. So I leave the machine and go to sleep. So in the morning, I get up, there's still over 2 hours left. I must wait. The print finally finished. No errors visible at first glance, so time to get to work. This started by assembling the hardware. All of this had to be soldered somehow. At first, I wanted to mount the servos directly on the flight controller, but that's not the best solution because servos need current right from the start. And a flight controller usually only has 2, maybe 3 amps on its 5-volt pads. So I started building a setup that allows connecting the servos and power from a separate power supply. I had a few power supplies, but unfortunately from Chinese manufacturers, so it was hard to judge their efficiency. Unfortunately, I was stuck doing the work without a predictable outcome. On top of that, the concept kept changing. First, I wanted each servo to have its own signal wire. Then I realized that one signal cable to the FC is enough because the servos will open the same way. I wanted to do everything professionally with connectors. After all, YouTube is watching. But connectors add weight. On normal drones, let's say under 7 inches, that can be a problem. But the bigger the drone, the less of an issue weight becomes because the batteries themselves often allow flights over 30 minutes. And that's already a solid result. My motors are strong enough that 100 or 200 grams difference doesn't matter to them. I treat the Franken-copter as a prototype drone. It has to fly, but I care about its modularity, so it can be a base showing that you can build drones based on ArduPilot, where the drone is meant to be more useful than just doing tricks for fun. That's what Betaflight is for. As you can see, it's roughly soldered. Time to check if it works before I mount it. All right, in ArduPilot, there's this thing called Landing Gear. It's a tool that lets you manage the drone's legs so the undercarriage can extend and retract when needed, and in some flight modes, it even happens automatically. So it seems like the perfect solution not only for Pixhawk, but also for my Maytech. I fire up Mission Planner and first go to the channel settings of my controller to check which channel is responsible for the C1 button. Okay, it's channel 9, so that one will handle folding and unfolding the legs. First, I assign the landing gear function to the S12 pad on my FC, so the signals from the FC should send PWM with the correct servo positions. Then I set the maximum and minimum PWM values for that pad according to my RC values. Now it's time to tell Channel 9 what it's responsible for. The point is that at this moment, only the FC knows that something is happening, but it doesn't know on what basis it should work. So I assign the landing gear option to the control channel. Unfortunately, that's still not the end of the setup because landing gear requires activation, after which additional settings appear, like, for example, the retract and deploy height, the trigger method, or the current status of the legs. Okay, time for a test. In messages, I should see a message about the legs being retracted or deployed, so I press the C1 button and it doesn't work. I check whether the button is even sending status, and it's fine. I check whether the landing gear settings are being read correctly by the FC. Finding them takes a moment. Everything looks good. So I go to the Servos tab, and I see that S12 has no signal at all, even though a moment ago channel 9 was working correctly. So I must have messed something up during the setup. But first, I'll do what a real IT guy does and disconnect everything and plug it back in. After the restart, I go back to messages and I have the information landing gear retract, so it works. The servo reacted, but pressing the button again doesn't make the servo return to the previous position. I check what the S12 signal looks like, and there is some signal, but it doesn't work the way it should. Okay, change of concept. Maybe I should do this based on relays? All right. I assign relay to channel 9. I use them when working with servos or when I need specific behavior, like switching between several cameras. Then I have to change the relay settings themselves so it reacts to the value from channel 9. Time for another test, and again, the same thing. The servo turns but doesn't return to the previous position. I did a few more attempts, and it turned out, well, AI finally made me realize that landing gear has native value settings for this function, and my channel 9 working at a minimum value of 1,495 is too high for the servo to return to the previous state. Simply put, the value is too high for ArduPilot. So either I change the button to one with a lower minimum range, or it just won't work. Okay, so I abandon landing gear and go for standard servo control. In Servo 12, I change its function to the value from channel 9, save, do a restart, and it works. The servo moves both one way and the other. Now the remaining issue is the proper range because it's working part-time. My switch operates in a range that doesn't allow the servo to open properly, so S12 has to scale the readings from the controller so I can use the full 180 degrees of my servo's travel, and also changing the PWM level values to increase the operating ranges. Time to check how it works, and it's so-so. To improve it, I made changes live in the servo configurator. Time to works pretty well, so I'll mount the servo in the leg, and before mounting, I'll check if it works properly, if there aren't any big resistances. Okay, the servo reacts, opens, and closes quite nicely. I'm probably most proud of how well the parts fit together. It looks really good. Of course, these servos are quite delicate. This won't work under load. But at this moment, that's not what I'm after. I want something that will allow safer takeoffs and landings with the drone. And as you can see, this system can be quite interesting. I suspect this won't be the first version. Time to move on to mounting. Here, I'm changing the mounting screws to longer ones because to make the base of the legs stronger, I gave them a bit more material. I haven't seen projects where builders do this kind of solution, probably exactly because most projects are about building drones for fun or filming breathtaking shots. Okay, everything is assembled, time for bench tests. Everything fits quite tightly, but I'll plug it in right here in a moment. I just want to check whether the intended effect has been achieved, and I press C1, and it doesn't work. Maybe I connected something wrong, need to check. And boom! And does a carbon frame conduct electricity? Oh yes, But I had a short circuit, a flash and smoke. What the hell just happened? This is an episode from the Don't Try This at Home series. All right, I cleaned up. Luckily, the FC is intact and the power supply too. Basically, no losses, but I had to change the concept. My servos come from different periods and different manufacturers, and it's impossible to set them so that each one opens the same way, and that's because this is ForgeCopter. Let me introduce you to this beast. This is the ESP32-P4 Wi-Fi 6. It has a dual-core processor at 360 megahertz, plus another 40 megahertz processor if I ever want to use it in low-power mode, and a C6 module that allows communication over Wi-Fi or Bluetooth. It's overkill for this project, but I intend to use it as a companion computer, and I have some pretty interesting plans for it. So watch the next episodes because things are going to happen. As you can see, I soldered it modularly. Because I'm going to develop this in the future, for now it's like this. Previously, I had concerns about the power supply. They turned out to be justified, and when I connected power to the drone, the power supply for the servos couldn't handle it, so I changed it to a bigger one. This one is already rated at max 5 amperes. I also changed its original connector to one that suits me better. The point is that I can easily connect individual elements or modules together. On the frame, I intend to place it more or less like this. Now, the ESP will be responsible for controlling the servos. It's connected to the FC via MAVLink. Each servo has individually set values, although I admit it took me quite a while to get the servos set the way they should be. If you want, I'll make a short about how to connect this so it works. To give the whole thing some aesthetics and to arrange it sensibly on this frame, I designed a housing. I screwed it to the frame, and now I'm connecting the next servos. Here, the YouTube magic is working. It looks simple, but seriously, I spent several hours figuring this out. Time for the first test. I just wanted to check if everything works properly on the drone. I folded and unfolded the servos several times. At the beginning, in Alt-Hold mode, the drone had to catch the proper hover, but the effect is something to admire. Now the Franken-copter has retractable landing gear. Of course, I couldn't stop at just one test, so I went to a buddy's place where I could calmly fly over the Polish fields during harvest time. The takeoff went elegantly without the slightest problems. I was a bit worried how it would be during the flight, but it turned out well, and after 30 minutes I came back, deployed the legs, and landed, although I was wobbling a bit out of fear that I'd hit something, and from the people watching, I only heard instructions. Left, right. No, that right. We have it. Another element of the drone finished. In the next episode, I'll deal with optical flow. So you're invited.